years, I've been changing with it. We have to, right? We hear a lot about celebrities and the stories of what they've overcome. I wanted to do a show that highlights some of the not so well known overcomers and what can happen if we just keep going. An athletic champion that hit rock bottom on crack cocaine reclaims his life and builds a first-class business that provides jobs for over 80 employees, known by the mayor, known by the police chief as the VIP security specialist, and to his wife, a loving husband. He is Jimmy Walton. All right, Jimmy, I'm so glad to have you on Just Keep Going. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's really a blessing.
It is a blessing.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing to have
Absolutely.
you. We're going to jump right in, all right?
Let's
You
go.
ready? Tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, your parents, your family, that kind of thing.
Well, I grew up in the Fillmore district in San Francisco. My mother moved us out here from Dallas, Texas, from Fort Worth, Texas. When I was about 5 years old. Me, my mother, my grandmother, and my brother. My brother was 4 years older than me. I was 5, so he was 9. So from day one, it was a change from us, from leaving Texas. Now we in California. We in San Francisco. It was a change for us. That was the first time that I've seen a whole lot of stuff. And I remember a guy came up to me and he said, he can beat me. And I'm thinking he's talking about running.
Right,
he's
right.
talking about fighting. He's talking about fighting.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, everybody gathers around, of course, and then he pushed me, and that was it. He just didn't know we fight in Texas.
So tell me a little bit about your home life. What was it like at home when you were a young child?
My home life was absolutely great. My grandmother was the discipline. She was the one. Whatever she say, that's what goes.
Okay.
Because listen, she would tear you up with her mouthpiece. She didn't even have to whoop you. And I said, let's just whoop me. I don't want to even hear it. From an early age. No, it was my grandmother, it was my mother. We moved out here, and my mother, they used to clean homes.
Okay.
These rich homes in the Marina District, the Nob Hill. They had contacts, so that's what they did in Texas.
Okay.
So my mother, she went to school and she started working for the Board of Education. But my childhood was great because I had a chance to experience Bruce Lee. You know what I mean?
Yes.
All the 70 exploitation movies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would define my childhood? You used to go to the movies.
Absolutely. Down there on Market Street.
As a kid, and watch rated R movies.
I didn't know you were going there.
Yeah, you could. So I was fast. It was great. I had great friends. And I fell in love with sports. I fell in love with soccer first because I was kind of like a husky. I was a husky guy.
Okay.
And so I started playing soccer.
Okay.
Then from soccer, I went to boxing.
Okay.
And then I fell in love with Walter Payton and Tony Dorsett. And I wanted to be them.
Right.
So, and that started
On to
the
football.
Yeah. That started the cycle.
How old were you when you started playing football?
I was 11.
11 years
Started
old.
playing football. 11. I wanted to be like my brother because my brother played for the San Francisco Cobras in '75, and I came in. I played. I came in and he's been '74. I came and played in '75, and I wanted to be one of the Cobras. But I was young and I was thin, but I was hanging with him. but I was young. I was, I was like the youngest one on the team,
Right.
and I got cut.
Mm.
I got cut.
Cut.
And I said I'll never get cut ever again in life. But something like the Michael Jordan story.
Right.
But I came back that next year, and I played on the line. I played center.
Okay.
I played so that taught me the trenches and how to open up the holes and what the holes look like and what you need to do and the blocks and everything. That taught me a lot about being rough and tough. And I was thin, but I
Right.
played center. I had heart. So
All right.
it was a great experience for me.
Now I know you took football into high school,
Absolutely.
and tell me what you learned first of all. What did football teach you, if anything? What did you learn with football? And
Well,
then just kind of tell me a little bit about your high school experience with football.
well, football for me, actually, football for me was like having a father figure because I didn't have a father figure in the house. I didn't have a father in the house. So my Pop Warner coaches, they were like my fathers on all levels that I played Pop Warner. And
Okay.
then when I got to high school, a gentleman by the name of Coach White, he took me up under his wing, and he used to take me in his office and he used to tell me different things about life and drugs, and he wanted me to do this, and I didn't know then he was trying to save my life. I didn't know. I learned a lot about teamwork, about being how to think like a champion, how to practice like a champion. You got to work hard. If you don't work hard every day, if you don't work harder than the next person,
Right.
you'll never achieve what you want to achieve. And that's what we did. I used to work out by myself. I used to, after practice, before practice, on the weekends, I wanted to be the best. That's all I wanted to do, be the best.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So tell us a little about after high school. What did you do? Where'd you go?
Well, can I? Okay.
You can go back where you
I want to go
where
back.
you want to go.
I want to go back because I want you to get the full picture.
All right.
I want you
Give
to
it
get
to
the
me.
full picture, right? So in high school, I started varsity in the 10th grade. So that year before, I played frost salt. I was in the 9th grade, right? I've never touched any weed, any drinking, anything. My coaches in Pop Warner, they told me about the drugs.
Okay.
So my frost off year, I did so well, and the head coach wanted me to go up play varsity. So that summer, I I chose to. I never followed anyone. I was never a follower. I was always a leader, always. And I hit my first weed, and I had another friend. His family they dealt cocaine,
Okay.
and we was like this. We was like tight, but he used to bring a suitcase full of cocaine to school.
Wow.
And man, I used to go over his house and they were snorting coke, and I was snorting coke. I was putting coke in the weed. Back then, it was glamorous. It was in the '80s. This was like the early '80s, and we had Scarface, and we had they made it so glamorous. That if you had coke and you went to the party, and we had it on the table. We in high school.
Wow.
We in high school.
Wow.
And a lot of my friends back then, they sold coke, and so what happened for me was I started using it, but I was very good at what I did on the field. So
Right.
my friend used to give me $50 worth of cocaine
Wow.
for every touchdown. So
You made sure you had a lot of touchdowns.
So look, when I got on the field, it was all hands. I didn't see anybody. I didn't see no linemen. I didn't see any linebackers. I barely saw the defensive backs. I'm going to the end zone.
Wow.
Period.
When you were doing the coke, were you doing it during football?
No, no, I did. It was relaxation. I didn't do it. It wasn't like right before practice or it wasn't. It was nothing like it was. It was like at that time in life, like being having coke and you had the girls and we was young, but we mocked what we saw,
Right.
on the screen.
Right.
I learned a lot of stuff in high school. And that was a part of it. That was part of the whole drug thing. That was
Right.
that was part of it. It was recreational then.
Right. And then what did you do after high school?
After high school, got scholarship. No, after high school, I was supposed to go to all these schools. They was recruiting me a whole lot of schools, but I wasn't ready. So my coach White, he set all of them aside, and he told me go to San Francisco City College, get yourself together to be prepared
Right.
to go to university.
Right.
I didn't understand that then because I was upset. I was hot. I was hot. But God had another plan for me at that point. God had another plan for me, and I'm so grateful that I went to San Francisco City College because that changed the game for me. I ended up going to a superstar team.
Okay.
In the 1983 San Francisco City College Rams championship team. That's where I found out about camaraderie, linked up with the brotherhood, and this. And everybody you have to do your job to make sure his job is done. It was I learned the whole like the family life. That we still close to this day. That '83 team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, were you still doing the drugs during that time?
I was still doing the drugs, but I was a lot into football. It wasn't that much. I was still smoking the weed, but we was partying, we was snorting. Good friend of mine, another good friend of mine, he sold coke, and I used to be with him all the time, and he had the big BMW music blasting, and the jewelry and the gold ropes, and yeah, it was
all that was going on.
All that was going on, and we was in high school.
Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit about. I know that you have been involved in drug raids. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my God. Yeah, in high school, one of the good friends I was telling you about, I used to go to his house all the time. We used to smoke weed, used to watch boxing and football. Used to go to his house, but they had a lot of coke around. And I've been in at least 7 raids, like
Wow.
people kicking the dough in. Kicking the dough in. High school.
Wow.
High school. Yeah, and different. He'll move somewhere and he'll locate somewhere else, and they'll kick the door in. But every time, see this whole story. My whole story revolves around God carrying me until I could walk with him.
Wow.
So all this time, like every time the door was kicked in,
yes,
I could have went to jail.
Absolutely.
I could have went to juvenile. It could have messed my whole life up. It could have been like, it didn't have to be the way it is now. And I go back and I reflect on that a lot.
And you didn't go to jail?
Seven
raids you were involved in?
Never went to jail. The guy I was telling you about, he always told me, he said, listen, he has nothing to do with this. All he does is play football, and that's what he does.
Wow.
I'm just a good friend of his. Every time. And he'll give me a ticket says visiting a dope house.
Wow. What's interesting about that is that, it was 7 times.
7.
And they kept seeing you.
7.
And sometimes you would think that even though someone says he doesn't have anything to do with this,
right.
he's just playing football. But you would think that they would be like, well, right. But he's here 7 times.
Right.
That they might have tried to put something on you, or at least, said, he's got to be doing something, and maybe, tried to get you for something. Yeah. But 7 times you got off, I absolutely see where God was definitely involved with that, because
I listen.
so many people have gone for less than
For
being
way
in a
less.
drug house.
At that time, when they was doing the raise, I was at the peak. I was a superstar in high school. I was always in the paper. You know, I'm thinking, you know, if I would have got hold to the wrong police officer, say I'm supposed to ruin his life.
Right. Right.
But it didn't happen like that.
Wow. That is a blessing. Definitely a blessing. So what happened after City College?
After City College, I got really blessed, and I went to Cal State Fullerton,
Okay.
1984, the '84 season. And what's so remarkable about that? Through all the dope and the weed and the cocaine, I played on high school championship team. Then I went to junior college, played on junior college championship team. Then I went to Cal State Fullerton, and then we won the championship.
That just, to me, seems like a setup. You know, it seems like a setup. It's like all this stuff is going on, but I'm a champion here, I'm a champion here, and I'm a champion here. It really does seem like God was setting you up.
Yes.
And he was saying, you're a champion.
Absolutely.
You're a champion. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't see that until during that time, it's just, right. You're ecstatic and it's like, yeah, we this and I'm that. But you don't really get it.
Right.
Till later. All right. So tell us more about what happened at Cal State Fullerton.
Well, Cal State Fullerton, that's another chapter that was so much fun. Oh my God, it was so much fun. Oh, I remember on my recruiting trip, they played at Anaheim Stadium.
Okay.
At that time, they played at Anaheim Stadium. And my recruiting trip, they took me to Anaheim Stadium. They took me on the field, and all of a sudden the music come on and the crowd get to roaring. You know, at defensive back from San Francisco, California, Jimmy Walton.
They were putting it down.
They had me then. I was done. I was done. Yeah, we had a lot of it was a lot of solidarity on the team.
Okay.
We were all a unit. It was an all black team, basically, in an all white county. It was Orange County at that time. '84. Oh yeah.
Right.
It was different.
What was life like for you at Fullerton?
At Fullerton, everything was new because I didn't know what the college life was about. I was just fitting in. It took me a while to get adjusted, but I came down there. I had the 240ZX. I had the long Jerry curl with the ropes and the diamonds, and they didn't know how to handle me when I went. I was flamboyant. You know, I was Dion before Dion. You know. You know, basically, but I adjusted to it, and but I remember a lot of my friends coming down there, and they would drop off cocaine, and I was like, I was like the party house, you know, and I went to that stuff, you know,
okay.
But you know, at that time it was still glamorous,
right?
To be it because I was the man,
right?
And I went into a depression after a while too.
What happened with the depression?
I don't know. I think everything kind of like that's when it became from recreational, then it came to something else. And yeah, I remember that. I had to back up off of that for a while.
When you say something else, did it become?
It became more of a addiction.
Okay.
Then, you know, leisure.
Gotcha.
You know, like I had to come in snort or have something.
So you said you had to back off. That you
Yeah, I
backed
backed
off a
up
little
off it
bit?
real fast. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. And you were able to?
Yeah, I was over to. I had to.
Okay.
At that point, I was like, because I could feel it. But after that championship season,
Mm-hmm.
I went another year, and then I came home. I had tryouts with the USFL and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But when I came back home, I decided that I could have went to the Canadian League. I had tryouts. I could have did a whole lot of stuff, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I said, man, because I was seeing all my friends, with the big cars and they were selling dope, and I was like, I don't know, I was crazy. I don't know. I had so much going on, college. I could play in the Canadian League. I can do a lot of stuff, but I came home and to be a dope dealer.
Hmm.
You know?
Did you graduate?
Yeah. No. From Cal State Fullerton? No.
Yeah.
City
Okay.
College? Yeah. No,
So from Cal State, you came home.
I came
that
home.
after that junior year.
Yes. I came home after the championship year. Yeah.
And then you started selling drugs then?
Started selling drugs then. And the funny thing about the whole thing, see, I'm watching all my friends, with the big cars and all this. So when I was in school and I was in class and I was playing football, I didn't know that they were going to jail too.
Wow.
It's some pieces that you have to do out there in that world. And like the first 6 months, I sold to an undercover officer, right? And that was the beginning of a different world. So I had to do 6 months in the county.
What was that like?
Oh my God. 6 months in the county, San Francisco County Jail. It was different, Again, like I said, God always took care of me, right? So I had to turn myself in, but the judge, I had to turn myself in at a certain time, but I went to court and the judge said, no, you can turn yourself in after the new year, right? After the Super Bowl, actually. It was right after the Super Bowl. So I turned myself in. I went upstairs, elevator. As soon as I get off the elevator, they snatched me into the kitchen. I didn't even have to go to the main line. I went to it. That's how God just took care of me, just immediately. You're gonna hear me refer back to God on everything because it's a lot of stuff that should have happened but didn't happen.
Wow.
There's a lot of stuff that did happen that shouldn't have happened.
Right.
And I did 6 months, and
when you were in county, this was actually your first time
in county
in jail.
Yes.
Right. You could have been there many other times, but you weren't. This is your first time. What kind of thoughts were you having while you were there? What did you think when you got busted? And just what were your thoughts about being in jail while you were there?
My thoughts was basically adapt to my surroundings because you don't have any thoughts when you go in there. Wherever you go, and you locked up, you gotta. It's a whole different ball game. So it's completely different circumstances, and the way I am on the streets, the way I am anywhere I go, I'm gonna carry me with me. So I'm a adapt wherever. I'm a leader. So when I got to the kitchen, right, I started washing dishes first. Then I went from washing dishes to being one of the leads on the assembly line. Okay. Then I went from one of the leads to the head of the laundry. And that's where a lot of stuff started. So I'm a leader. I was born to be a leader. I know that now. I was born to do something. So while I was in the laundry, they had another division outside. It was called work furlough. So all work furlough clothes came to us from work furlough up in the elevators, so I had a friend on the outside. So I used to sneak cartons of cigarettes up there. You know, I always had a game plan. I always had business. It was always business. Everything was always business with me. And even on the streets, it was always business. Always. Right. So I did that, and yeah, you know, I just adapted to my surroundings, and everybody around me. They pretty much catered to me. Like, it was cool.
Were you afraid at all?
No, I wasn't afraid. You know, it was like going into a game. You get the butterflies, but as soon as you get on that field, it's a different ball game. Yeah, there's one thing about football. You bring that mentality because you have to be absolutely animal on the field. You have to be. If you're not an animal on the field, then you can't play that game. So in life, in the streets, in jail, I brought that same championship mentality to the table. Okay. For us, you know.
Right. So tell us what happened after you got out.
When I got out, you know, I felt sorry for myself. I felt like I had messed up because, I had a football career.
Right.
And so I partied, and I got introduced to smoking coke.
Okay.
At a party. They had 3 rooms. One room, they smoking weed. The other room, they're smoking weed. They're snorting coke. And in that room, door number 3, you know, there's freebasing, right? Okay. So I did these 3, and I'm thinking to myself at this time, I'm thinking like, I can do that. I can do what I want to do. I can, you know what I mean? They ain't gonna have me that. But they did. But at that time, they didn't have like everybody going crazy.
Okay.
It wasn't like that then. You know, the epidemic. Right. It was not. It wasn't, because if I would have seen that, I would have never.
It was before that.
It was before that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I tried it, and man, that was like the beginning of the end. That was like going to hell, literally.
What was your first time like?
It's a rush. It was a rush that you always want to get that same rush every time. And but back then, it wasn't crack. We was cooking it, right? And it was a time where we used to cook it and smoke it and go to the club, come back and hit it and do this. You know what I'm saying? You can move. You can actually move around and, you know, but man, that crack stuff, man, that's a different ball game. You ain't moving.
So you got the rush.
Yeah.
And let me ask you a little bit about if you've ever thought about why you even were susceptible to wanting to do drugs.
You know, at that time in my life, I was around a lot of people. It was something that I wanted to try. It wasn't. I didn't have any. I didn't have anybody leading me on, or I didn't think it would take me down that path. I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know. I didn't think for one second that it would take me through a path that of destruction like it did.
Thank you for watching this episode of Just Keep Going. If you'd like, you can find more of this interview at toyahawkins.com.